Intro. That day, I saw my dead daughter's face. It was my granddaughter's graduation ceremony. A blessed, ordinary day in May. With sunlight streaming through the auditorium windows. A woman stepped onto the stage. They said she was a billionaire CEO who had donated $50 million to the university. The moment I saw her face, I couldn't breathe. 30 years ago, my youngest, lost in the flames. Little Emma, only 3 years old. Wouldn't she have looked like that if she had grown up? The round forehead, the slightly upturned eyes, the small mole on her left cheek. They never found her body. We never had a proper funeral. They said not even bones remained. So how could that woman be standing up there? I nearly collapsed in my seat. An ordinary day. That morning, I was happy. I'm 73 this year. People say I've lived a blessed life. My oldest son Michael is a school principal. My daughter Sarah is a nurse at the university hospital. I have 4 grandchildren. People admire me for raising 2 children alone, without a husband. But they don't know. They don't know that I have the same dream every night. That even after 30 years, I can still see my 3-year-old's face, crying in those flames. Her name was Emma. I gave birth to 3 children. But now, only 2 are by my side. That morning, Sarah called me. She said my granddaughter Lily's college graduation was this Saturday. Of course I said I'd be there. I was up at dawn, getting ready. I polished the gold necklace. I was giving Lily, and carefully pressed my best dress. Standing at the mirror, fixing my gray hair, I thought to myself, our Lily is already graduating college. Time flies so fast. The auditorium was crowded when I arrived. My son-in-law saved me a seat in the front row, so I could see Lily clearly when she walked across the stage. The president's speech droned on. I kept dozing off and waking up. These events are tiring at my age. Then the announcer introduced a special segment. Someone who had donated $50 million to the business school would be giving a speech. A woman named Grace Chen, CEO of Stellar Group. $50 million. I couldn't even imagine that much money. I just thought, someone important is coming, and looked up. A woman stepped onto the stage. She looked to be in her early 50s. Neatly dressed in an elegant black suit. Short bobbed hair. A confident stride. And that face. I couldn't breathe. To that face. At first, I doubted my own eyes. My eyesight has gotten worse with age. I thought I must be seeing things. But no matter how many times I blinked, no matter how many times I looked again, that face stayed the same. The round forehead. That was like mine. I had a forehead like that when I was young. The slightly upturned eyes. That was like my husband David. All our children inherited their father's eyes. The small mole on her left cheek. The same mole Emma had. The one she was born with. My hands were trembling. Sarah shook my arm. She asked if I was okay, if something was wrong. I couldn't answer. If I opened my mouth, I would have burst into tears. A voice came through the microphone. A calm, refined voice. Congratulating the graduates, telling them not to fear failure in their youth. Saying she started with nothing herself. I didn't hear a word of it. I just stared at that face. I couldn't look away. The speech ended and the woman stepped down from the stage. People applauded. I couldn't clap. Both hands were pressed over my mouth. The ceremony ended. I sat there in a daze. Even after everyone left, I couldn't move. Sarah crouched down in front of me. She said my face had gone white, asked if I was feeling ill. I grabbed Sarah's hand. I asked her what they said that woman's name was. Grace Chen, she said. CEO of Stellar Group. She's famous, Sarah said. Grew up in foster care, built a huge company from nothing. Foster care. My heart dropped at those words. I asked Sarah if she'd seen that woman's face. Didn't she look like Emma? Sarah hesitated. She said Emma was only 3 when she died. How would we know what she'd look like? I said to her, "You think I wouldn't know? She came from my own body." Sarah squeezed my hand tight. She said it could just be someone who happens to look similar. There are lots of people who look alike in this world. I knew that. I knew it didn't make sense. Emma died 30 years ago. There's no way a 3-year-old could have survived those flames. But my heart wouldn't listen. 3 that day, 30 years ago. I have to go back 30 years. Even now, remembering that time tears my heart apart. But to tell this story, I have to start from that day. December 1995. I was 39 years old. My husband David ran a small hardware store. We lived in a worn apartment on the 3rd floor. In a working-class neighborhood in Chicago. Our oldest, Michael, was 12. Sarah was 9. And little Emma was 3. We were poor, but we were happy. Back then, we really were. Emma was our surprise baby. Born 6 years after Sarah, we adored her beyond words. Chubby cheeks, and when she smiled, her eyes curved like little crescent moons. She was a mama's girl. She followed me everywhere I went. She couldn't fall asleep unless she was in my arms. That winter was brutally cold. It was December 15th. David had come down with the flu and was in bed. I needed to run to the pharmacy for medicine. I was going to take Emma with me. But she was napping. I didn't want to wake her. I asked Michael to watch his sisters for a bit. Just 20 minutes, there and back. Michael said okay. He was a good boy. I thought at 12, he was old enough. I walked out the door. That was the biggest mistake of my life. I picked up the medicine and was walking back around the corner. When I saw the sky had turned red. At first I thought it was the sunset. But what sunset in December? Sirens were wailing. People were shouting. Someone was screaming, "Fire, fire." I ran. "Please, please, not our building." That prayer went unanswered. The fire was at our home. Red flames were shooting from the 3rd floor windows. Black smoke blotted out the sky. Fire trucks were there, water pouring into the windows. I tried to run inside barefoot. I didn't even know when my shoes had come off. The firefighters held me back. They said it was too dangerous to go in. I was screaming, "My children are in there. My baby is in there." Then a 2nd floor window shattered. David jumped out, with Michael and Sarah in his arms. With a thud, all 3 hit the ground. The firefighters rushed over. David's leg was injured, but the kids were okay. I ran to them screaming, "Where's Emma? Where is she?" David shook his head. He couldn't find her, he said. The smoke was too thick, he couldn't get to Emma's room, he said. Her room was where the fire started. I collapsed right there. After the fire was out, the firefighters searched the building. I stood outside, unable to move. The December wind cut through me, but I didn't feel cold. I couldn't feel anything. An hour passed. 2 hours passed. A firefighter approached me. They couldn't find the child's body, he said. Emma's room was where the fire started, so it burned the longest. The temperature was so high that even bones could have turned to ash, he said. I couldn't understand those words. Bones turned to ash. What does that mean? Then where is my child? I grabbed the firefighter's jacket and wept. Please look again, I begged. Please look again. The firefighter was crying too. He said he was so sorry. We couldn't even have a proper funeral. Without a body, there was no casket. We received mourners with just her photo and an empty coffin. People tried to comfort me. Be strong, they said. Think of your other children. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't even cry. I stared at Emma's photo. It was from her first birthday. A little dress with flowers, a smiling face. Chubby cheeks, eyes curved like little moons. I couldn't believe she was gone. That very morning, I touched those cheeks. I kissed her sleeping face. I'll be right back, sweetheart, Mommy will be quick, I said. That was the last time. The fire investigation results came in. They said it was an electrical fire. Actually, they said a candle in Michael's room had fallen over and started it. Michael was doing homework by candlelight. And when he went to the bathroom, the candle tipped over. I looked at Michael when I heard this. A 12-year-old boy, his face white as a sheet. Eyes brimming with tears. It's my fault. It's my fault. That's all he kept saying. I held Michael. It's not your fault, I said. The candle falling was an accident. You didn't do it on purpose. But somewhere in my heart, another thought crept in. I should have taken Emma with me. Why did I leave her? Why did I think it was okay not to wake her? That guilt crushed me. 4. A shattered home. David changed after that. He never used to drink. But after the fire, he drank every day. It's my fault. I should have protected the children. He just kept repeating that. It broke my heart to watch him. And part of me resented him too. You saved Michael and Sarah. Why couldn't you save Emma? I never said it out loud. But maybe it showed in my eyes. A wall grew between us. David's hardware store went downhill after the fire. He was drunk and absent too often. Customers stopped coming. Eventually, he closed the shop. I started working at a restaurant. Out at 5 in the morning, home at 10 at night. No time to even make dinner for my children. Michael looked after Sarah, a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old, taking care of each other. It brought me to tears every time I saw them. And it made me think of Emma. If Emma had been there, her big brother and sister would have fed her too. They would have played together. David passed away 3 years after the fire. Liver failure. 3 years of drinking every single day. His liver couldn't take it. Just before he died, he held my hand. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I couldn't protect Emma. Those were his last words. I became a widow at 42. Left alone with 2 children, 15 and 12 years old. 27 years since then. I worked myself to the bone. Waitressing, factory work, cleaning. I did everything. Michael got scholarships and went to education school. Now he's a school principal. Sarah went to nursing school and works at the university hospital. Both of them turned out well. They got married, had children. To everyone else, I'm a happy grandmother. But I know this happiness isn't complete. For 30 years, I've had the same dream every night. Emma is crying in the flames. Mommy, mommy, she calls. I reach out my hand. But I can't reach her. The flames block my way. Emma, Emma. No matter how loud I scream, Emma drifts further away. When I wake from that dream, my pillow is soaked with tears. Even after 30 years, that dream never stopped. 5. A Restless Heart. The night after the graduation, I couldn't sleep. That woman's face kept appearing in my mind. Grace Chen, billionaire CEO, raised in foster care. Could it just be a coincidence? People say there are lots of lookalikes in the world. But something in my heart kept saying no. I got up at dawn and turned on the computer. My grandchildren taught me how to search the internet. Never thought I'd use it for something like this. I searched for Grace Chen. Dozens of articles came up. From foster care to fortune, Grace Chen's incredible journey. Grace Chen donates another $100 million to children's charities. Forbes's 50 most influential women in business. I looked through the photos one by one. The more I looked, the more certain I became. The curve of the forehead, the eyes, the shape of her lips. She looked just like me when I was young. Her smile looked like David. And then I found one article that stopped my heart. Grace Chen reveals, I was rescued from a fire as a child. The article said this: Grace Chen was rescued from a fire around the age of 3. But her parents were never found, so she was placed in an orphanage. She lived there until she was 18. Then put herself through college and started her business. 3 years old. A fire. Parents never found. I sat there in front of the screen for a long time. Everything matched. Emma was 3 years old. We thought she died in the fire. But what if Emma survived and was rescued? But they couldn't find us, and she was sent to an orphanage? But at the same time, there were things that didn't make sense. Why didn't the police find Emma? Why didn't anyone contact us? They said they searched at the time. Why didn't we know that a child had been rescued? Something wasn't right. Something was hidden. I decided to dig into the truth from 30 years ago. 6. The first clue. I called Sarah. I told her I had a favor to ask. I asked if she could help me meet Grace Chen. Sarah sighed. She said, "Did I have any idea how busy that woman was? You can't just meet someone like that because you want to." I didn't give up. I asked again if there was any way. After a long silence, Sarah spoke. She said Grace Chen comes to her hospital for regular checkups. At the VIP health center. The moment I heard that, my mind was made up. I had to meet that woman, no matter what. A few days later, I was sitting in the lobby of Sarah's hospital. Sarah came down during her lunch break. She asked what I was really doing here, said she couldn't work with me around. I asked if it was wrong to just sit here. "This is where my daughter works." Sarah let out a long sigh. She asked if I was here because of Ms. Chen. I didn't answer. Sarah said she knew today was Ms. Chen's checkup day. She asked if that's why I came. I took Sarah's hand. "Just help me this once," I said. "Just let me see her face. If I see her up close, I'll know." Sarah shook her head, but in the end, she took my hand and led me. "Okay," she said, "but you absolutely cannot say anything to her. You can only watch from a distance. Promise me." I nodded. The VIP health center was in a separate building from the main hospital. It was clean and quiet, like a hotel lobby. Sarah sat me in a corner of the lounge. She told me to wait here with some coffee. Ms. Chen would come through here after her checkup. I held the coffee cup with trembling hands. About 30 minutes later, the lounge door opened. A woman in a suit walked in. It was Grace Chen. Seeing her closer than at the graduation, I thought my heart would burst. That forehead, those eyes, the mole on her left cheek. She was so close I couldn't breathe. Ms. Chen walked over to get coffee. She stood at the coffee machine. Right next to me. I held my breath and watched her. That's when I noticed her hands. Her right index finger. On the second knuckle, there was a faint scar. The moment I saw that scar, tears came flooding out. It was when Emma was 2 years old. We had a cat. Emma was petting the cat and got bitten. Right on the second knuckle of her index finger. The doctor said it might leave a scar. Every day, I rubbed ointment on that wound. 2 small dots, like cat's teeth marks. Even after 30 years, that scar was still there. I must have been crying without realizing it. Ms. Chen spoke to me. She asked if I was all right. I fumbled to wipe my tears. I said I was fine, I was sorry. Ms. Chen poured a cup of coffee and set it in front of me. She said I probably wanted something warm. Her kindness only made my heart ache more. She asked if I was here for a checkup. I said no. I said my daughter works here, so I was just visiting. Ms. Chen smiled. She asked if my daughter was on the medical staff. She said that's wonderful. That smile looked like David. I couldn't hold back any longer. I asked if I could see her palm, if she didn't mind. I said I'd become interested in palm reading in my old age. What a ridiculous thing to say. Even I thought I was pathetic. But Ms. Chen laughed and held out her hand. "Palm reading? That's fun," she said. "Tell me, what's my fortune?" With trembling hands, I took her hand. It was warm. That tiny hand I held 30 years ago had grown this much. I looked at the scar on her index finger. The cat bite marks, 2 small dots. There was no doubt. Tears fell again without my knowing. Ms. Chen asked why I was crying. She asked if I was feeling unwell. Just then, Sarah came running over. She called out Mom and came rushing. She apologized to Ms. Chen, said her mother had been rude. Ms. Chen said it was okay. She said she was just worried because I was crying. Sarah helped me up and led me outside. She asked what was wrong with me. She said I'd embarrassed her. I gripped Sarah's hand tight. It's her, I said. It's Emma. 7. Searching for the truth. At first, Sarah didn't believe me. She said I wanted it so badly that I was imagining things. She said it's just someone who looks similar. I told her about the scar on the hand. The scar from when Emma was bitten by the cat. I said it was still the same after 30 years. I rubbed ointment on it every day so I could draw it with my eyes closed. Sarah was quiet for a long time. Then she asked if it was really true. If the scar was really the same. I told her I was certain. Sarah nodded. She said let's investigate then. Let's find out what really happened 30 years ago. I started by looking for records from the fire 30 years ago. I went to City Hall and requested files. I contacted the fire department that responded that day. A week later, I got a call from the fire department. They said they'd found the records and there was something strange. I asked what was strange. They said when the fire trucks responded to a neighbor's call. The records showed that one child was rescued from the scene. My heart dropped. Rescued? Then why wasn't I contacted? The fire department person said according to the records, that child wasn't handed over to the police, but was taken directly to a hospital. The records after that were incomplete. Incomplete? They said the records from 30 years ago weren't accurate. They asked if I wanted them to investigate further. I said please, please. Next, I tracked down people who lived near the fire scene. Our old apartment building had been torn down long ago for redevelopment. But I managed to find contact information for a few former neighbors. One of them, an old woman named Mrs. Patterson, remembered. I asked if she remembered the fire. She said she did. It was terrible. Everyone was saying a little girl had died. I asked if she noticed anything strange that day. She thought for a moment, then spoke. Yes, she said. There was something odd about the woman who lived next door. Her name was Margaret, she said. Margaret Sullivan. Lived alone. But the night of the fire, she came running out carrying a baby. A baby? I asked. She said she thought that woman had no children. But that night she was holding a baby. She thought it was strange. I asked if she knew where that woman lives now. She said she didn't know. The woman moved away shortly after the fire. She didn't know where. My heart was pounding. A woman next door came running out with a child. A woman who had no children. Could it be? Could that woman have taken Emma? I asked Michael for help. Michael said he knew a detective and would ask him to look into it. A few days later, Michael called. He said they found a woman named Margaret Sullivan. She moved away after the fire, he said. But she passed away 3 years ago. She died? I asked. Yes, he said. But there was something strange in the death records. The next of kin was listed as Grace Chen. My mind went blank. Margaret Sullivan. Grace Chen's adoptive mother. So 30 years ago, that woman really did take Emma? 8. The confrontation. I decided to meet Grace Chen again. This time, officially. With confidence. I called Stellar Group's office. I told them I wanted to request a meeting with CEO Grace Chen. The secretary asked what it was regarding. I said it was personal. I said it was something important about her past. The secretary asked me to hold. After a long wait, she spoke again. She said unfortunately, Ms. Chen doesn't accept personal meetings. I said this. It's about when Ms. Chen was rescued from a fire 30 years ago. I am the woman who lost her daughter that day. There was silence on the other end of the line. The secretary spoke again. She asked if I could come in tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Stellar Group headquarters was in downtown Manhattan. I was up at dawn preparing. I put on my neatest clothes and brought photos of Emma as a baby. Standing in front of the building, my legs were shaking. I had waited 30 years. I was going to meet the child I had only seen in my dreams for 30 years. A secretary greeted me in the lobby. We took the elevator to the top floor. The door to the CEO's office opened. Grace Chen was standing by the window. Ms. Chen smiled. She told me to come in. She said we'd met at the hospital. I nodded. I said yes, she remembered me. She said she couldn't forget the woman who asked to read her palm. But her eyes held caution. She asked me to sit. She said she was curious what I wanted to talk about. I sat on the sofa. My hands were trembling, so I pressed them hard against my knees. I began to speak. 30 years ago, December 15, 1995. There was a fire in Chicago. Ms. Chen's expression hardened. I lost my youngest daughter in that fire. She was 3 years old. They never found her body. Ms. Chen said nothing. I continued. But recently I learned something. That day, at that fire, a child was rescued. Ms. Chen looked at me slowly. She said she didn't understand what I was trying to say. I said it. Ms. Chen, could you be that child? My daughter, Emma. Ms. Chen stood up. She said she was sorry, but she was an orphan. Her parents were never found, and she grew up in foster care. She said she was not my daughter. I spoke. The scar on your hand. On your right index finger, second knuckle. Ms. Chen unconsciously looked at her own hand. I said that scar is from when my daughter was bitten by a cat at age 2. I rubbed ointment on it every day. Ms. Chen shook her head. She said it could be a coincidence. I said, what about the mole on your left cheek? My husband had a mole in the exact same spot. Ms. Chen couldn't say anything. I said, Margaret Sullivan, the woman who raised you. She died 3 years ago. She lived next door to us at the time. The night of the fire, she took you. Ms. Chen's face went pale. Ms. Chen asked me what proof I had to say such things. I said, let's do a DNA test. Then we'll know for sure. Ms. Chen shook her head. She said she was sorry. She said she had no intention of taking such a test. I asked why. She said she had lived her own life. For 30 years. She said she didn't want it all turned upside down now. I stood up. Ms. Chen. For 30 years, I've had the same dream every night. Ms. Chen looked at me. I said, my 3-year-old daughter, crying out for mommy in the flames. That little hand I could never reach. When I wake from that dream, my pillow is soaked. Ms. Chen said nothing. I said I lived 30 years with guilt. If only I hadn't gone to get medicine. If only I'd taken her with me. Those thoughts crushed me. Something flickered in Ms. Chen's eyes. I said, but if that child survived. If she grew up to be this remarkable. Then I couldn't finish. The tears came pouring out. Ms. Chen let out a quiet sigh. She said she needed time to think about this too. I said I understood. I walked toward the door. As my hand touched the doorknob, Ms. Chen called out, "Ma'am." I turned around. Ms. Chen spoke. She said she'd had a strange memory since she was little. I stood still. She said when she smells fire, she gets scared. She has nightmares. Dreams of someone calling her name in the flames. Emma, Emma. My heart felt like it was being torn apart. She said she didn't know if it was a real memory or imagination. When she asked her adoptive mother, she would never answer. I walked back toward Ms. Chen. Grace. No, Emma. Ms. Chen closed her eyes. She said the woman who raised her, Margaret Sullivan, was good to her. She said she didn't want to believe that woman could have taken someone else's child. I said I understood. That woman raised her, after all. Ms. Chen opened her eyes. She said, but if what I was saying was true, she trailed off. She asked for 1 week. She said she would investigate on her own. And depending on what she found, she would decide whether to take a DNA test. I said thank you. I took Ms. Chen's hand. The hand of my daughter I was touching again after 30 years. It was warm. 9. The DR. 1 week passed. I don't remember how I spent that week. I don't know if I ate or slept. I just stared at my phone, waiting for contact. On the evening of the 7th day, Grace Chen reached out. She asked if we could meet. She said she had something to tell me. We met at a quiet cafe overlooking the river. Ms. Chen looked exhausted. She looked like she hadn't slept all week. I waited without asking questions. Ms. Chen spoke first. She said she'd investigated. She'd gone through everything her adoptive mother left behind. She'd looked for records from that time. I listened quietly. Ms. Chen pulled out a worn notebook. She said it was among her adoptive mother's belongings. A diary. I took the diary with trembling hands. I asked if I could read it. Ms. Chen nodded. I turned the pages. Old, faded handwriting met my eyes. December 15, 1995. The apartment next door caught fire today. The smoke was so thick I tried to evacuate too. But I heard a child crying from an upstairs window. The fire trucks hadn't arrived yet. I couldn't just ignore it. I went in through the window. I could barely breathe from the smoke. A child was huddled in the corner of a room. A little girl, about 3 years old. What was her name? Emma? That's what her mother always called her. I carried her out. By the time the fire trucks arrived, the whole neighborhood was in chaos. I couldn't see the child's mother. I walked away with the child. Why did I do it? I don't know. I could have handed her to the police. But holding this child, the emptiness in my heart felt filled somehow. I'm a bad person. I know that. But I couldn't let her go. March 2, 1996. I moved away. I changed the child's name to Grace. I registered her under a friend's address. I know it's illegal, but I wanted her to be my daughter. Grace has nightmares sometimes. She wakes up crying for mommy, mommy. Every time, I feel like my heart is being ripped apart. I'm sorry, Grace. I should give you back to your real mother. But I can't live without you. August 20, 2005. Grace started high school. She's a good student, top of her class, sweet and hardworking. I think I raised her well. Sometimes the guilt overwhelms me. Where is this child's real mother now? Is she looking for her? Of course she is. Of course she must be. I'm going to hell. August 15, 2022. I was diagnosed with cancer. They say it's terminal. Should I tell Grace the truth? The secret I've kept for almost 30 years. But if I tell her now, how devastated will she be? Is her birth mother still alive? Has she been looking for her daughter all these 30 years? I'm going to hell. I know it. But the years I spent raising Grace, I don't regret them. I closed the diary. My hands were shaking. The tears wouldn't stop. Miss Chen, no. Emma took my hand. Emma spoke. She said her adoptive mother had saved her from the flames. But then she took her. I couldn't say anything. Emma said she didn't know if her adoptive mother was a bad person. She saved her, but she stole her from her mother. I shook my head. I said that woman saved you. Emma looked at me. I said for 30 years I thought you had burned to death. That guilt crushed me. But you were alive. Because someone saved you. Tears fell from Emma's eyes. I said I can't hate her. She saved my daughter. I pulled Emma into my arms. It was our first embrace in 30 years. 10. A daughter returned. After that day, we took a DNA test. It took 3 days for the results. I was strangely calm during those 3 days. In my heart, I already knew. The results came back 99.99% match. Grace Chen was Emma. After 30 years, I had found my daughter. I'll never forget the day I introduced Emma to Sarah and Michael. We gathered at Sarah's house. Sarah, Michael, and Emma. The door opened and Emma walked in. Sarah saw Emma and sank to the floor. She asked if it was really true. If Emma was really alive. Emma went to Sarah. Sarah, she said, it's me, Emma. Sarah grabbed Emma and cried. Michael couldn't say a word for a long time. He just stood there, crying. Emma went to Michael. Michael, she said. Michael finally spoke. It was my fault, he said. That day, I knocked over the candle. The fire started because of me. And Emma. Emma took Michael's hand. It wasn't your fault, she said. And I'm alive. Michael pulled Emma into his arms. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Emma. All the guilt Michael had carried for 30 years came pouring out. Emma patted Michael's back. It's okay. It's okay now. I stood by the window, watching my 3 children. 12, 9, and 3 years old now they were. 45, 42, and 35. 30 years had passed. Hair had turned gray, wrinkles had formed, backs had bent. But to my eyes, they still looked like children. Emma came to me. Mom, she said. Hearing that word for the first time in 30 years, I cried. Yes, Emma? Emma spoke. She said she'd missed me. She couldn't remember, but somewhere in her heart, she had always longed for me. I said I felt the same. Every night in my dreams, I saw you. Emma said now I don't have to dream anymore. I'm right here. I held Emma. 30 years of waiting had been worth it. Epilogue. A new family photo. A year has passed. Today is a special day for our family. Emma's legal identity has been restored. The records have been corrected. She is now officially both Emma and Grace Chen. And today, our whole family is taking a photo together. The family photo we couldn't take 30 years ago. I look at everyone gathered in the photo studio. My oldest son Michael with his wife, their 2 children. My daughter Sarah with her husband, their 2 children. And my youngest, Emma. 14 people, a big family, standing before the camera. The photographer counts. 1, 2, 3. The flash goes off. I smile. The empty space that haunted us for 30 years is finally filled. The nightmare I dreamed for 30 years is finally over. People say miracles don't happen. They say the dead don't come back. They say you can't turn back time. But I learned something. If you don't give up, miracles do happen. Even if it takes 30 years, the truth comes to light. And above all, a mother's love conquers time. It was hotter than the flames. It was deeper than the years. That love finally brought my daughter back into my arms. Tonight, I think I'll sleep peacefully for the first time in a long time. I don't have to call out for my daughter in the flames anymore. My daughter is alive. She's in my arms. After 30 years of waiting, she's finally back in her mother's embrace.